Commanders versus Cardinals, they win that game 42-14, and we're now starting to see this ascension for Jayden Daniels. Now, he's only 4 games into his career. Anything can certainly happen. Plenty of guys start hot, they slow down, but the records that he's breaking, and for him to have an 82% completion percentage, is the best of any quarterback in the first 4 games of the season. That's a stat that everybody's been beat over the head with. The last 2 games, Jayden Daniels, 6 incompletions and 5 touchdowns, which is just insane to read and say that out loud. When you watch him play, he's in a great circumstance. I was a big advocate for saying that if you're placing a preseason bet, place it on Jayden Daniels to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is already way past that trajectory the way that he's performing. If he even takes a slight step back, which is a lot of room for him to do that, he's still going to finish as the best rookie quarterback of this entire grouping. The question, though, that we kind of enter in now, is this a potential Bryce Young, CJ Stroud situation? I do not think so. I think that we love to find recent analogies and to play that stupid game. I think that it is unfair to do that to Caleb Williams in this situation when Jayden Daniels is much older than Caleb Williams is.
I would agree at the base level of that, but you have to concede that there's a lot of people in Chicago puckered up right now every time Jayden Daniels goes out in the field and has a performance like this and sees Caleb Williams, who got a win on Sunday. That was good. They beat a banged up Rams team. You beat the Rams. That's a good thing. McVay always has his guys ready. But there are throws that Caleb is missing that you know right now that Jayden can make. The one where DJ Moore had an open look into the end zone and he overthrew him by not just outreach of the fingertips, but actually outthrew him by 10 yards. That's not good. That is not. There's some really evident not good passes that Caleb Williams is opting to make that Jayden Daniels doesn't make. Does he have some incompletions? Kinda. He has some incomplete passes. But for the most part, it looks like his comfortability in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, it's unnatural for this to be this quick. It's unnatural for him to be able to make...
Well, he's in a very quarterback-friendly scheme, and this was what my whole argument was in favor of Jayden Daniels to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year over Caleb Williams, was he's stepping into a system with an offensive coordinator that knows how to scheme up production for gifted quarterbacks with this skill set. He's taller, longer Kyler Murray. I know that sounds like a ridiculous comp to make because they look nothing alike physically. They don't measure out at all, but similar mobility, very similar mobility, similar ability to throw off platforms, similar ability to take those risks and those shots that result in big splash plays. All of those things, that's what Cliff Kingsbury is afforded. It is the perfect situation when comparably, and the reason why I'm giving Caleb Williams as much grace as he deserves to get, the same can't be said. We talked about Shane Waldron last week. We talked about how the Seahawks offense was not great last year, and then suddenly he gets this other job with the Bears, and there's the expectation that they're just going to take off and skyrocket with a really old, aging, banged-up Keenan Allen and a very bad offensive line. Yes, they have not lived up to expectations, but I really hate doing and playing this game, and I understand there's a lot of bad sports fans that are playing the early, let's redraft, let's do the redraft, let's do the 4-game redraft, let's give Jayden Daniels to the first overall pick. There's not been enough games to answer that question.
Do you think if Caleb Williams was in Washington, hypothetically, they'd still be 3-1? Or do you think they'd be 2-2?
Yeah, I think
and I'll give you first for Chicago as well.
I'm not going as far as to say that I think that Caleb Williams would put up the same exact stats and would have the same completion numbers, any of that stuff. I would argue that he could be performing well and we would be having a different conversation right now. We wouldn't be, I don't think 4 games in, I don't think anyone would be negative about Caleb Williams because very similar, his skill set plays perfectly for what Cliff Kingsbury uses. And this is something that I think a lot of people were incorrect on in this offseason, that Commanders' offensive line is not that bad.
It's pretty good.
It's average enough for Jayden Daniels to play the way that he is. Compared to what the Bears have right now, they have nothing in the interior.
I think Daniels is going to make a true push for the Rookie of the Year. The thing is, this is a hopeful city. DC, they like to flex how cold they are, how rigid they were about Snyder. He's gone. Josh Harris has come in like an angel to a lot of people and is trying to revive the team, improve the stadium, and now they may have nailed the quarterback. It just spells, unfortunately, for disaster historically. But I am deciding, I'll say this on this show, I am deciding to be optimistic yet again about this franchise. It's gonna break me. It just
Well, you're not a Commanders fan,
yeah,
so don't act
but
like you are.
it's seeing and being around this team for so long, seeing everybody truly depressed. I'm talking. You think the Giants had depression? No, you got the 2 Super Bowls. You got Eli, and you have a legendary figure. This is a depressed sports town. If anything happens to Jayden Daniels, you might see riots. You might see businesses closed down. You might see people selling their cars just because they need to feel something, feel a little money in the pocket, need a dopamine rush. It's going to be bad, but I'm choosing to be optimistic about this team leading the NFC East, which is much weaker than we thought it would be. Dallas is fraud. Philly is fraud.
Yeah, we're going to get to Philly.
Giants are Giants. But I do think right now, if they keep this pace up, they could win this division. They genuinely could. This offense is legit.
I'm curious to see, and it helps that they've had wins over some of the tougher games on their schedule. Like Cardinals could have been a total loss for them. Bengals should have been a total loss for them on paper.
They would have loved to lose both those games. They would have prayed under Ron Rivera to lose those games. But Dan Quinn's a better coach than Ron. All of Ron's plus attributes as a head coach, there are few, but all of his pluses Dan Quinn has. And Dan Quinn doesn't have his negatives. He doesn't have that stern military complex. He's just a dude that loves football, that's going to grind you down. He's going to wear you down until you love the man. And the post locker room scenes that he had, giving out the game balls, spectacular. They're already bought in on Dan Quinn. He may be in Coach of the Year running.
Oh, he absolutely, I think, will be. Even if they don't make the playoffs and they're banging on the door, maybe they're like one of the first wildcard teams out. If Jayden Daniels, unless it goes like to LaFleur, like that, there's a possibility that goes to LaFleur, it goes to Kevin O'Connell. He's going to be one of those top teams or top coaches in that convo. I think my forward-looking take on this before we move on to the next game, this offseason, and Ryan put a comment in here. I can't keep up with the co-hosts that I have. Josh Harris is a doofus.
Why?
Well, he's a 76ers fan, so he.
Yo, you don't trust the process anymore? What are you talking about? You got Maxey. You guys are fine. You didn't overpay for Tobias Harris. You guys manage your money well.
Forward thinking, this franchise has always been terrible about building environments for young players to succeed.
Oh really?
For the love of hell, under new leadership in every category, please, for the love of God, Commanders, to everything that you just said, this is a gem. Look at what the Texans just did with CJ Stroud. Look at the results that they are producing early on, and look how they said this offseason, we're going to continue to bolster and build this team. Now, I think that their offensive line still isn't 100% to where the Texans offensive line could be, and could be up to that elite level for them to hit that final true stride of being a top 5 team in the NFL. But you need to look at what helped build CJ Stroud and what they did to build around him, and say that with Jayden Daniels, just unload, man. Put as much money as possible into surrounding this kid with as many resources as you can. Do not blow this. You can only get like one of these shots every 10 years.
If 10, you get one of these shots maybe every 20 to 30 years as a basement organization. It's been 30 years for this team since they've had a legit dude back there. So I like that. Take care of the guy. Do everything you can. Keep Jayden happy. That's where we're at right now. You're kind of cucked because he's such a good football player, but good. You're going to get the results eventually. It's not all going to happen this year, but you can finally see the light. You're not just walking in the dark forest. You're getting out of it, brother. You're getting out of the forest. Don't stay in it. There's nothing good for you in here. Just make sure he's happy. Make sure he's safe. Get a center, please.